ICANN is a community initiative by Crayfish and supported by many volunteers to create an international community where we can support each other and help each other with the career network, and also discover more job opportunities and to network with each other. So I Can Talk with Ting is a monthly or bi-monthly web event at the moment. Perhaps in the future we will make it into physical, where we can celebrate success, career stories, and inspire others, and also to interact, help each other to interact with others. And so today's topic is, the game of balance. So it's really looking at how we balance career and our hobbies, because particularly in the last year with the pandemic, a lot of us finding that have something you love to do outside your work, outside Zoom and Teams and the video calls, that can really help you maintain that healthy mental health, which is really important. And although we're joking about, the things we develop over this period, whether, for example, I learned to do baozi for the first time in my life, and some people, learn to do DIY, etc. But actually doing this, can it help us to develop our career? That is the big question that we would like to discuss today. So before that, let's do a quick poll just to see what is your thinking on this. So if you have a look and how many hours are you doing now each week on average? That means so we can see more people just more than 7 hours, but please, if you can, just a few more. And there's quite a few people also spend in between 3 and 7 hours. And okay, more people come in to do the poll. You have 10 more seconds to do the poll, and then we can end the poll. And then we can show the results to us. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's share the results. Can you see the results? Yeah, so we have actually more people spending more than 7 hours a week, which means more than 1 hour a day on your hobby, which is great. And also, a majority of the people find that helped with the career. Excellent. So that is a brilliant answer. So can we stop the poll, please? Yeah, and so now I would like to, introduce our speakers today. So, just myself, for those who are new, I'm Ting Zhang. So my day job is running crayfish.io. We are a digital platform providing connections and quality services for facilitating particularly trade with Asia, focus on China. And we have 3 excellent speakers today, who each of them I admire a lot for what they do and what they have achieved. You've probably read their bio when you sign up, so I won't go into those in detail. But as you can see, we have Dr. Chow in the investment area, VC, and Winnie is in accounting tax professional service, and Scarlett is in market research, survey, and linguistics services as well. So without further ado, I would like to first invite Scarlett to answer my questions. But before that, so Scarlett, you say hello to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Well, I think some of the people in this group probably know me already, because I'm also running the ICANN Open Forum, and if you have attended before.
Yes, definitely. For ICANN members, you're all familiar with Scarlett. Scarlett is also on our cover page for the last ICANN Digest e-magazine as well. So now I would like to show you something before I ask Scarlett. This would be Scarlett's hobby. So Right, so Scarlett loves dancing, and this is one of it. And now, you ready for a more passionate one? So that's Scarlett. So now I'm going to stop sharing this slide and welcome you to the stage. So Scarlett, so how and when did you decide to take belly dancing or dancing in general as your hobby?
Yeah, so I actually I've always liked dancing a lot since a quite young age. Actually, before I come to the UK, I was kind of performing with my university team and doing if you grow up in China, universities or schools will do those annual shows, celebration and things. So I do that, do a little bit like Chinese ethnic or traditional dancing and that. But after I moved to the UK, obviously the study and work has been kind of the main focus for the first couple of years, and dancing just kind of left my life at that stage, which now I look back, I actually felt quite sad about that. But then I think it's about 5 years ago. Yeah, I don't remember which day exactly, but about 5 years ago, one of my friends actually saw a kind of like an ad for a taster class of belly dancing. I've never done belly dancing before that in my life. And she just asked me, do you want to go have a try this taster class to see if it's any fun? So yeah, I just went with her. And after that class, I'm like, this is just amazing. It's perfect. It's something I want to do. It's not only it's just beautiful, like you wear coin belt. It's just so positive, like the community of people who take part of this art are just very supportive of each other. And this is also a type of dancing I find it's a lot more inclusive. Doesn't matter if you are thin or if you are on the more heavier side, or if you are older, or if you're young, or if you have some kind of like even mobility issue, everyone can take up on it. And you can do that for a long time. I also learned about a lot of actually famous belly dancers actually do that all the way to their 70s, 60s. So I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is something I want to do. So after the taster class, I signed up. And since then, I just haven't stopped. And so I finished that kind of like program, but they don't have a lot. They only have like a starter and improver. And then I searched online, find this school, like the largest belly dancing school in London. And then I signed up to their classes, started as a student. And because I love it so much, I progressed with the different levels very fast. And then after that, I auditioned to join the performing troupe with the dance company. And then started doing regular shows in London for events and gigs. So yeah, that has been my journey so far.
So for belly dancing, how often do you do it?
Yeah, actually before the pandemic, like the troupe I was in, we rehearse like not every Saturday, maybe every other Saturday. Depends on if it's the show season or not. But I would spend about 7 hours on Saturday to rehearse with the troupe. And of course, during the rehearsal time, you already know the dance. So you kind of work with each other, create the synergy. So that means during the week, I also had to spend time on it. Sometimes learning choreography, sometimes creating something. So I would say definitely more than 10 hours a week. But now, obviously, I haven't done any show since the lockdown. I actually did some online ones, but not like in person. It's still not the same. but I still doing a little bit of dancing every day, actually, just to keep the momentum going and also just keep my muscle active, because belly dancing is a quite specific type of dancing. You need a lot of muscle isolation. If you don't do that, it will be gone. So yeah, do that very regularly.
Well, we can see that from how you dance, I can imagine that will really help, keep the muscles really flexible as well. Have you got something to show us,
Yeah, actually, I got a few props here today. The first one is also like my favorite. It's like a fan with a veil at the end. This is a fan with a short veil. Well, it's my favorite props, not only because I'm Chinese, it's kind of like connected to Chinese dance, but we use that in belly dance, and also particular style of belly dance I like is the fusion, tribal fusion belly dance, which is the more modern take. So I can infuse like the Chinese element into the dance, like create my own style, which is what I love about that. So this is like a fan with a veil, and then I also have like fan with veil, which is longer. Yeah, it's just so beautiful when you play with these. It's just very therapeutic. And another thing I want to show you is something called Isis wing. It's something you can wear on your body, and then your arm will stretch out like, I don't know if you can see, like a wing. So when you perform with that, you feel like you're flying. That's really beautiful, especially for like show and gigs. And we can even have like LED ones. So when the lights are switched off, it's like you're glowing in the dark. And last but not least, one of my favorite, also the one I feel most nervous to performing with, is this baby, which is a so yeah, so dancing a lot of things.
Is it dangerous?
You will balance that on your head and then dance with it. So nothing will, test your balance more than having a sword on your head and dance with it.
Is it dangerous if you drop on your foot?
Oh, you don't want that to happen. Because it's proper metal. It's not sharp, so it's probably not going to cut me. But yeah, it's still got that danger element in that, which I love the thrills, but I'm also very nervous whenever I dance with it.
Well, that's almost like in the old, in a kung fu movie, 侠女, isn't it? With the flying wing, and you could almost like flying down from Wudangshan with the sword. That would be amazing. So now, coming back, the core question: how did you find that having this passion for the dancing have helped your career? Because you have amazing career. You started on the linguistic side, and then research. You work in World Bank. You work in number of companies, but now Ipsos Morris, of course, is one of the biggest market research firms in the world, and major one in the UK. And since I met you, I've noticed Ipsos everywhere. Well, before, didn't notice, of course. So how does that work for you?
Yeah, I guess, the question about how hobby help one's career, unless you actually turned your hobby into a career. Some people do, absolutely, like they end up doing, they love the job, that's absolutely fine. If you haven't done that, then put like a direct connection between your hobby and your job might be a little bit tricky. But I think for me, it's actually helped me as a person overall, because a lot of things, for example, in dancing, first of all, it keeps me active and fit. So I'm very healthy and I felt energetic all the time. So that also kind of will come out when I have in communication with people. And also the art of dancing, what I like about it is body and mind. So if you choreograph a piece of dance, or you have to learn something, you need to be creative, or it practices your memory as well. And dancing in a troupe, you also have to really work well with other people in a high pressure environment, how to deal with like last minute or surprise situation, like something wrong happened on the stage. I remember there was once I was actually performing with a fan, and then the stage we had a lot of like a wire and stuff on the side, and I was actually on the side that day, and my fan get caught on the wire, and in the middle of performance, there's like a few hundred people down there. So you have to deal with that situation, and you have to elegantly, gracefully take it down, and also not, ruin the whole dance. So it kind of helped me to build a lot of resilience and a lot of flexibility, both physically and mentally, in dealing with like difficult situation you might have at work. And also just thinking about like, at least for my last 2 jobs, we normally, if we have a job interview, you will have this question about, tell us something about you and something unique about you, or do you do anything interesting outside of work? It seems like a lot of employers ask this kind of question because they're not only just find someone who might be good technically, but also an interesting person and someone who has a different perspective. So I got asked those questions. And I think that when I tell them about what I do about my dancing, and they all remember that. I remember my boss told me like, oh, I was like very impressed to hear all that things you do outside work. So I guess if you are competing in a role that is competitive and you have multiple candidates, you're all on the same level in terms of experience or skills. And if you're a more interesting person, that make you more standout candidate. So in that way, I think it can help your career.
Great. That is really something I learned, because I did not think that dancing is, requires so much of, to remain calm and, dealing with those issues. And particularly when it actually give you that mental sort of strength to help your work. That is really great. So let me just now move on to our next speaker, and that is Winnie. So Winnie, sorry. So Winnie, did you say hello to everyone?
Oh, hi everyone. Good afternoon.
Yeah. So this is Winnie. So Winnie loves singing, writing, and among other things. But here you can see she's singing, and this is her studio. And Winnie will tell you more about her novels. And so Winnie, so again, the same question to you is how, when actually first you start having your, start the hobby, and then how have you found that helps with your career as well?
Yeah, thank you, Ting. So I would say, based on my mother's memory, and she could have told me a fiction, she said I started singing the very famous Chinese nursery rhyme, Little Swallow, at the age of 1, apparently. So singing has probably been embedded in my life since the very start. I then started learning to play piano. I didn't go very far with it. So as we know, many Chinese students are pushed or forced to play piano when they are very young and play up to grade 10. I only made it to grade 4, but it built a basis for music theory, which then helped me to write music and arrange music. But with writing, again, I might just show something for you. I actually had to find it this morning. This was a storybook. I took part in the illustration. I wouldn't claim every writing was done by me. My mother kept some writing for it. So she recorded the stories I told her. And that was when I was 3 years old. So that's the start of my writing journey.
Was that in English or Chinese?
It is in Chinese, and the very bad writing is from me. The good writing is from my mom. She started a preface, and then, but I wrote the context. So I tried to make a book out of my stories.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're almost the same age as Jackie Rowling wrote her first novel at age of 4.
I'll take your blessing in case I can make a big IP of my story.
I remember seeing first time I noticed you is when with the UK Chinese Women Connect. You can see the VC when they had this competition for talent, and you wrote your own song and you sang, and it was beautiful. And of course, then I realized you were working for Blake Rothenberg, and you did very well. And recently, congratulations to your becoming a partner.
Thank
so,
you.
And so how does this work with all your, singing and writing? And I assume that working in a company also is very demanding. And previously you also working Big Four, things like that. So where do you get the time? How does it work?
Yeah, sure. And first of all, I have to, be very grateful that you invited me to this forum, because it really forced me to think about the connection and interconnection between hobbies and career. But I recently worked out that they actually feed into each other. There were so many examples I can think of, but I will just pick a few for food for thought today. So, for instance, I'll start with a simple one. With singing, I wouldn't claim I'm the best singer, but it does make me become aware of how I should use my voice. So in my job as a tax advisor, I need to do a lot of talking, either by presentation or one-to-one talking. And to have a very calm voice will help, especially for those clients who are stuck in a tax investigation with the UK tax authorities. So the use of voice is immediately useful for my job. So that's a very basic level. And secondly, I think is the way I can handle mental health at work. As you mentioned, a Big Four job is not the easiest, and they require a lot of hours, and occasionally things may not go to plan, and you will have stress from your boss and from clients. So because I write stories, if I do face something that's gone terrible because of my fault or something else, I would think, oh, let me just take stock and treat it as a material for writing novel in the future. So I can then keep a distance from reality and view it with some calmness. So that's the second way it can help. And then those stories do feed into my novel, obviously in a way that's not going to breach any confidential client information. And thirdly, I would say hobbies can make you view your job in a different way. So I actually wrote this in my novel in the very recent chapter that's been released on the WeChat subscription platform, River Camel Breeze. I will share on the chat about where you can read my novel. But in the latest chapter, I mentioned that nobody has been born and dream of becoming a tax advisor when they're a child. Usually you dream to become a singer, a football player, or a scientist. However, in my day job, I try to discover the part which are fun, because I love my hobby so much. I think, oh, if I do a presentation, I can imagine that I'm a TV presenter. So I try to have those sort of fictional roles in my head. So even my day job, however demanding they are, I can kind of see the fun side of it. So I think it's really changes perspective, and in turn gives me energy for my day job. So I just want to list out these three main things, and hopefully it gives you a perspective of how you view your own day job.
That's really important, I think, as you said, to take the perspective. And people always said life is like, a story, right? And everyone's playing different roles. We all play different roles in our own life, a colleague, wife, mother, daughter, all this. And I guess, so where did you get those ideas for the novel? A lot of, as you said, from work, but also how about your cultural background? Because you only worked here, I guess, in the UK. How do you keep that sort of Chinese culture so well, practiced? I'm amazed at your Chinese writing.
Oh, thank you for your very kind words. So I guess there are, and firstly, I would definitely encourage anyone with a literary dream to, try out and write and then submit, because that's the only way you can keep it up. I've lived in the UK for the last 19 years, so I came here as a teenager. However, I wouldn't say that I have come to the UK by choice. At that age, it was usually a decision made by parents. So in fact, my true self, I think I'm still very Chinese, and I read Chinese news. I've always looked at Chinese media. I've followed Chinese pop culture, music. So that has inevitably meant that I always read in Chinese language. So even if I was trying to read an English novel, for example, by Kazuo Ishiguro, I would still try to find the Chinese translated copy to read. So that has kept my Chinese up to date. But the downside, I guess, is I needed to do a bit more work with my English, but that's a different story to cover. Secondly, I have been writing for very long, since very young. There were many years when I was working for Big Four where I couldn't write because there was no energy. And it was a point in my life where I couldn't make sense of the things happening around me and turn them into story. So I only wrote essays instead of fiction. So my last fiction that I wrote before the current novel was back in 2006. But I always took encouragement from Hemingway. Hemingway had a 10-year gap in his own writing career, but he still managed to write The Old Man and the Sea. So I always looked up to him thinking, don't worry about this writer's block. It will come back.
Well, you've got many years to come to produce novels. And are you planning to write in English at any point?
That's a very good question. My English, I still feel slightly, uncomfortable writing English purely because I haven't read as much in English language. However, there are friends in my community who said, Winnie, we have to read this novel in English, do something about it. So I may need to translate it. But in the immediate term, I wish to write for friends from my Chinese culture. So I'm planning my second novel in my head. It may take a few years, but still that will be in Chinese because still I would like to share my experience, the cross-cultural dilemma to those from my home country. So that's still my top priority. And I should leave the English side to the second objective.
Perhaps get them translated is a good idea because I think, as you know, there's a lot of understanding from the Western point of view on the Chinese is based on Zhang Yimou's films, rural China, old-fashioned, or extremely, sort of different views to what we really know. So having more people understand the modern Chinese professional life, I think that's really, will help bridge that understanding of culture from the West for the Chinese itself as well. So hopefully your novels get picked up by someone who would willing to translate that, and that would be great to hear. Thank you so much, Winnie, on that. So now we are going to move on to Dr. Chao Jian. So let me quickly share the screen on that. So can you see this is, sorry, I think I shared the wrong one, which is not a full screen, but Dr. Chao, can you say hello to everyone in the meantime? So I know that you are in Oxford, and you probably start telling everyone about your where you are. Why is this place?
Yes, sorry today I'm not at home. That's why I can show you some of the antiques. Now I'm in Oxford. We have a China Tea Culture Center in Oxford. We create a tea culture space here. But now we haven't started yet, just show, can't show much. It's all empty at the moment. Sorry.
Yes.
So hopefully we can start as soon as possible.
Yeah. So sorry, I don't think I can get it full screen up somehow, but you can see this is when I visited Dr. Chao's home in Birmingham, and everything I said or used was antique. And I was so worried I might knock something over, and every cupboard opens is full of antiques, so the whole house is like a museum. And of course, these are two photos we just chosen. And perhaps, Dr. Chen, you can tell us what is this particular, this one on the top, right? Is for?
Yeah, this is quite interesting. This is from a Kangxi period. This Kangxi blue glazed porcelain. So many people don't know what it is. Actually, it's many people think this is probably the stand for a flower pot or something. Actually, this is a toy for fish. This is put onto into the fish bowl. The fish can through all this. It's a
called Yuchuan. I learned that from you. It's called Yuchuan. Is that right?
Yeah, Yuchuan.
Yuchuan and Tanju.
Yes. Yeah.
So this very lucky fish, I guess, it's only very rich emperor's fish can afford to have a toy for themselves like this, right? So I would stop sharing that now, and we can have a discussion. So again, how did you pick up this hobby of collecting antique, and how does that help your career as an investor, VC, and businessman?
Yeah, because my hobby is for the appreciation and the collection of Chinese art, especially for the porcelain and some furniture as well. But my most interesting period is Song period, which is roughly 800 years old. Because I also quite interested in quite like calligraphy and painting, but I'm not good at it. I'm mainly focused on the porcelain. This is my major hobby. And then my hobby is influenced by my family since childhood. Because my parents is like Chinese traditional culture and often search antiques in the countryside during weekend. I sometimes with them. It's quite fun together to go to countryside to hunt some of the antiques. It's quite deeply influenced me by them. I'm very lucky because one of my parents, my father's friend, who is a well-known antique specialist and also a famous collector. I learned a lot from him, and also I have an opportunity to handle a lot of very genuine pieces. It's from couple of thousand years ago to 100 years old. All these quite famous antiques I can handle because for this hobby, for the collection of antiques, it's not like other. It's different with some of the hobby because if you learn
The
some,
money to start with.
not the only the money. So actually, the knowledge start with. This knowledge cannot learn from book. Yeah, definitely need to learn some fundamental knowledge from book, but only if you only read a book, only look at the museum, you cannot identify this is a genuine piece of forged work. So this is a very unique something you need to handle, have some pieces on your hand to look closely and feel is it heavy or lighter, and what's all this from the clay, from the everything, also the painting on the porcelain. So this is different. Because when I was a child, I have an opportunity to learn from that the collector and look at all this collection of his. That's why I started gradually interesting.
Do you have a magnifying glass like people do? You see on the film, they look at this.
Normally, I'm not. Normally, sometimes when you look at probably 100,000 of pieces, when you look at one piece, probably quickly you can feel this is which period. This is a brand new or old copy of the old porcelain or others. So it's quite something quite interesting. Actually, then my real hobby, actually this hobby, real start actually started from in the UK. I collect when I remember when I was in the UK in 2001. I visited Oxford Antique Center. I saw it's actually showed from the photo the teacup, the blue and white teacup. This is from Yongzheng period, Yongzheng teacup. Actually, this is a shipwreck.
This one.
Yeah, in the these two cup. So actually, this is from shipwreck sunk in Vietnamese Sea in roughly 300 years ago. They're supposed to export to Europe. So this is my first item I bought in the UK. This is also my collection start at the begin with from here. When I saw this teacup, I realized in the UK here probably have many Chinese antiques. Then I started to drive into the countryside to London every Saturday or Sunday. I almost from I remember from 2003 to 2008 or 10, almost every Saturday and Sunday, I'm driving to hunt antiques. It's full of fun. Always bring friends and to learn, teach friends, and also learn each other. All this antique trip. It's quite interesting.
Maybe you should give us another talk about how do you tell what it's real or not, and is it worthwhile to invest or not. I remember reading about this Chinese billionaire auctioned a teacup and he drank with it and to show off.
Yes.
Did you drink from your teacups?
That's a chicken cup. This is one of the most famous antiques. This is from Chenhua period, from a Ming dynasty, called the chicken cup. This is because this is very rare. That's why it sold 280 million RMB, actually Hong Kong dollar in Hong Kong. So yeah, for myself, I normally because I'm not very rich. Sometimes that's why I think hobby can start with anyone, for anyone, not for antiques collections. Maybe may not you are rich and start to collect something. When I first hunt this small, for example, small cups, just 20 pounds, 30 pounds. But the knowledge you learn, but when you saw something, you know this probably produced in 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 200 years ago. This is you need to learn gradually to build up your knowledge, build up your experience. This is quite fun.
So how has that helped at all, or actually does it help with your investment career, because you invest in high tech, advanced manufacturing, medical device, new material, because we work together on those areas, and I know that you are very on top of those latest technology development, which sounds like this is old antique and the tech is so new. So how does that work? Is there any connection, or this is totally irrelevant?
Yeah, I think definitely they have a connection. This is definitely helps because actually it's a help on my whole life. Because when I was very young, I liked very colorful antiques such as the Qing period dynasty, especially so-called Kangxi family work. This is very colorful with red, green, yellow. Because that time I think this color is quite unique and quite generous. So then gradually, when I'm getting older, I start to prefer blue and white, which is relatively elegant. Then later, now I quite like a Song period, a Song dynasty porcelains, which is very calm and tranquility. So it's actually when I look at myself in the past 20 or 30 years, even more, this is benefit from a lot for my the whole lifetime, my life, including my career as well, because this is a very interesting thing, because people will develop themselves according to the hobby, and also for the career. It's also help a lot, because when I have a meeting or have a dinner or lunch with a client, with an investor, or with some of the companies, because the people always sit, chat, relax. But when I talk this type of topic for a collection of Chinese fine art, this is a very relaxed topic, because many people want to learn more about this, quite fun and quite interesting about this. I can we have a lot of stories to share, a lot of interesting story when the hunting the antiques. They just people, we can relax and build a relationship with each other, and also even sometimes some friend, when the client visit the UK or visit me, they even ask me to recommend some of the gift. I can bring them to an antique fair. We will cross the country to some of the antique fair to help them to buy antiques. Actually, it's very cheap here, but it's unique for them to, as a gift, to give to their friend, because they feel this is this is something not use money to buy. So it's quite interesting. That's why I think we have a closer relationship with my clients and with others. This is definitely a lot.
So it's like an icebreaker in a way, and also to show your knowledge. I guess in a way you are collecting, and then it realizes value in the future. But by spotting the right antique to collect, just like you do VC, isn't it? Early stage investment, there's a lot of them are not good. But if you spot the right one and you hold it and nurture it, well, not like antique, you don't need to do anything about it, but you help the business and then grow, and then you get a big benefit in that sense. It's like collecting high-tech companies.
Yeah. Sometimes I think this is quite in common in both. To find a very good project, it's similar to like to find hunting nice antiques, because there are a lot of antiques there, but which one is good? And sometimes when you spend the time, you can't find a good one. Sometimes you need, I don't know how to say this. It's quite common. It's the process, the way to find a project or find a good antiques, and also identify which is good one. It's quite
the right eye, but also the skill to assess that.
Yes,
so
yeah.
that's the common link. That's great. So now I just have quick questions. I think before we open up the questions, please do feel free to type your question in the chat, or if you wanted to speak up, let us know as well. So quick question, is there any other hobby you want to take up, Dr. Chow? Just a very quick answer.
I quite like to learn tea and tea ceremony or tea culture, because I'm very interested for this. Actually, I started to learn from I visited many tea mountains in Hangzhou, in Taiwan, also in Japan. Started to learn, but it's a long way to go.
Okay, that's great. I know that where you are staying, there are this big tea club you have decorated in Oxford, and we agree that it's going to be our first GATA members. Once you've got the tea sets arriving, and then we could do that. Great. And so the next one I'd like to ask Winnie. So Winnie, is there any other hobby that you haven't picked up that you would like to?
Yeah, sure. Because I'm very loyal to my career, which is tax. So I try to switch my hobby each year. Over the years, I've studied, history of art with Christie's. I've studied wine tasting with WSET. So what I want to do now is, rather than expanding my interest, I'll kind of stick to the field. But this year I'm going to try something new. So this is a professional microphone I bought, and I'm going to record an audiobook later this year. So kind of building on my existing interest, but something new.
Well, that's amazing, because you do have a really very nice voice from the singing, and also from anytime I hear you on the webinar or something, it's really very nice to hear. So audiobook is great. I look forward to hearing your audiobook coming up.
Thank you.
And Scarlett, what about you?
Actually, I'm really inspired by Winnie about her writing, because feel a bit like sad, because I was actually used to be a student who studied linguistics and literature. So like when I was in China, I was a graduate from 中文系, so writing was one of the things I absolutely loved, and I thought I was good at as well. And I just haven't done that. And I absolutely love the Chinese language, and I want to be able to use more in my daily life, in my job, and I don't have a lot of opportunity. So I think now I actually have a lot of ideas and things in my head. I actually want to do some creative writing, hopefully in the near future. Maybe I need to have a conversation with Winnie on this.
Excellent. I know that both your English and Chinese are really good because you have helped me improve reading both of my Chinese and English writings before. So, sounds great. Looking forward to that. So now, thank you very much for this part of session for my question. Now we're going to open up to questions from the audience. Anyone would like to unmute themselves and ask questions, please do that, or just type in. I've already got someone actually send me separately a question, which I can start. For those on the more junior level, when they start their career, would you say they have the time to develop and enjoy the hobbies? Oh, I've also got to Sally. So if you could quickly, any one of you, do you want to answer that? And then we got Sally to ask this question.
I can answer that because just from my own probably mistake, I wish I could have started dancing earlier, and I probably will be in a better place. And for the first few years of my career, actually, like the focus on career and things, actually a quite draining experience. And you would think, oh, you have no time to do that. Actually, if you find something you actually really enjoy and love doing, that will help you to switch to a different mindset and mode, and actually help you to identify opportunities and help you to think things differently. So I wish I could have started from the beginning of my career. And also some people say, oh gosh, you have such a busy job Monday to Friday. Where do you find the energy and time to do your full day rehearsal on Saturday? Like, aren't you just feel exhausted? But I don't feel that way because the Saturday, yeah, it was a full day, like 7 hours, like a full day job. But because it's so fun and it's also very different, it's physical compared to the things I do at my job. It's more kind of like on the computer. So it's actually a good switch. And for me, especially during the lockdown, that helped me massively in keeping strong mentally to power through the whole lockdown, because whenever I felt stressed, I just switch on the music and dance like crazy for 5 minutes, and then I can come back, deal with whatever problem facing me. So I think start as early as possible, and that won't really stop you building your career. Probably will help.
We need, Jen, do you want to comment on that quickly before we get Sally to ask our question?
Yeah, I think if anyone starts to some of the hobby as early as possible, it would be great. Because some of them will work hard, will play hard. But definitely, if it's something you enjoy, it will be relaxed. It will be actually it's a good, better for you. It's benefit from that.
Okay, Winnie.
And I will echo the same, that the fact that you're joining this webinar probably means you already have the thought of putting some time down to your career. So if you, to your hobby. So if you have that thought putting into place, the one tip I would offer is, for instance, writing a novel isn't an easy thing. It's like a project, massive project on its own. So you really have to take off the things that are not entirely essential in your life. So but it's not a sacrifice. It just means you are making priority for your hobby.
So 加法 and 减法. So if you add something, you've got to minus some other things. Okay, great. So Sally, would you like to unmute yourself or put your video on if you like to ask your question or comments?
Thank you. I really enjoyed the talk and really inspirational, to be fair. Actually, you already kind of answered my question, because I was thinking, yeah, in my spare time, I would wish to do this or that. How do you actually find the time? And then you already, all of the guests actually touched upon the time. If you have the passion, if you really wanted to do it, and you have the commitment, you should be able to do it. And yeah, I'm just in awe of all of you finding the time and be able to do it. I know Winnie said, well, prioritization, and also the other lady, first lady, I can't remember her name, sorry. And she mentioned about as long as you have the passion, then you should be able to do it. To me, I felt, listen to it, it makes sense, but in reality, I found really hard actually finding the time to do other things. I have 2 young children, and I find it quite challenging. Monday to Friday, full-time work, and also weekend is basically occupied by them. And by the time I finish them, I feel completely exhausted and tired. And I do admire people who also in a similar situation, full-time job, have young kids at home, can still manage to do lots of things. Maybe I didn't quite get the hang of it and didn't quite get the technique. I don't know whether any of you would have any experience or techniques in terms of time management, really. Thanks.
Winnie, would you like to answer that first? I saw you raise hand.
Yeah, because I do have, Sally, thanks for sharing your thought. And I just to answer it very quickly, I've got a very young child. I started writing this novel when he was 2 years old. The way to help you kind of focus the energy was I started asking myself a question every day, which is, if I leave this world tomorrow, what would I regret? And I think by asking that question, it really helps you find what's the ones that you want to do to let the world remember you by. So it's by no coincidence that I started writing the novel when the pandemic started in China, because I think that really helped me put things into perspective. I hope that can help you.
Okay, yeah, so I tend to
Thank
agree.
you.
You just have to sort of carry on. You have to find that time, even you've got young children. I think children shouldn't stop us pursuing our hobbies, but although you may not have as much time as if you didn't have them. Then we have another question from Ming Guan, said it's very inspirational. Thank you very much. I would like to, basically the main question is she has a lot of small hobbies, but not really good at any of them. So, do you have any suggestion, how to basically to excel, I guess, at particular hobbies, if you have lots of them?
I'm happy to answer that question. So I think, when I was growing up in China, like when we were little kids, our parents all put us to sign up to kind of extracurricular courses. I was in some drawing class and calligraphy class and some other classes, like I've got involved in so much. But it's not something I particularly find a lot of enjoyment in, and it's not something that speaks to me so much. And then actually answering this question, for you to have a hobby, like what do you try to get out of it? Is it enjoyment or relaxation, or you actually want to get to somewhere? Because if you just trying out a lot of different things and find a lot of enjoyment, even if you don't become a pro or progress really, really impressively on that, so what? It doesn't matter. It gave you the moment of happiness, enjoyment, relaxation. That's something no money can buy. And so just embrace the process, and then maybe along the journey, you will find out something that you really like and you want to pursue more. And then that can become something, more stand out for you. But the thing is, I think the mindset for me about taking on hobbies or doing different things is if I will enjoy it.
That's great answer. Yes, Winnie, Jan, do you have anything to comment further on that?
Yes, I think it's because I have a lot of other hobbies for take photos and others, but I think gradually which one is most enjoyable. Gradually, we get more time in that hobby. Gradually, to build your develop your hobby. Then join some of the network or group. Because for me, I later on join the antique association, etc. Then getting more and more friends, because for one of this benefit is actually I have a make up with many other friends from one to another to have more friends to join together and gradually have become stronger and stronger. I think and then mainly it depends on which one is your most favorable and most enjoyable.
Yeah, and I would say actually it's such a bless that you love lots of little things. That means you must have a passion for life in general. So I would say, that's really, really good. I've switched my hobbies all the time, and somehow you can bring them all together, and it forms such a good way to start conversation, make friends, and in general, just keep yourself energetic and curious and look out for things. So that in itself, I think is already very valuable. And then I think gradually you will find your own edge as to which hobby you want to kind of develop and make that into your main thing.
I would echo that really. I hope, Ming, we answered your question, but I echo that. I have quite a few hobbies. So I used to, really like traveling, but with kids, with work, it's very difficult to travel. And then I like golf, and I like yoga, but all those becomes very difficult with golf. It takes a lot of time, although my children do a lot of golf those days, and I could do a bit more. But now what I've found also is to be practical. For example, I discovered I like gardening. Just to very quickly to show you, this is my garden. And so all these flowers I've sort of planted the last few years, but I did not have that hobby before. So I only started after my father passed away a few years ago. And then I find that it was very therapeutic when I start doing gardening and spend some time in the garden, particularly after stressful work and high pressure, and it helps release that pressure. And I think what Jen was saying, Dr. Chow was saying is very useful, is that maybe at different stage you have different hobbies. So when I retire, I would pick up my golf again because I have more time. But now this is, for me to take my mind off work, but also to actually save money, because gardens cost a lot of money, and it's difficult to get hold of them. I think if you can enjoy, as Scarlett says, and you nurture them and it's practical, I think that's worthwhile. So on that note, I would like to say thank you to all the speakers and to everyone who come to join. And before you go, please, we have a little poll very quickly, just literally 1 minute, just to see how you feel now after have listened to the speakers and also going through the questions. So do you now see that you can have more connection between your work and your hobby? And as a result of today? Well, I certainly think that I should pick up a bit more dancing, although I've never danced, probably just have something, and to practice singing, or just get my voice, because I remember there was once I hear someone say, before you get on a web events, for example, you need to practice like, to get your voice all go up, because then you are more calm, you have a more calm voice than a high pitch. So sing and dance, and also probably Dr. Chow, when you get a chance to in the future, perhaps I can members meet in London, and you can show us how to look at the antiques, and we can all start. That would be fun. So now we have although it's a small number of people doing the poll, we have everyone says yes, there is a connection. So that's great. Thank you very much, and stop that poll now. And for those who haven't joined, please do join us. The membership is open and it's free, and also follow us on ICANN on LinkedIn. We have lots of nice events where we have speakers come in, discuss with us, and then we also hope in a second half of the year we will have really nice events in London, including Scarlett promised us to teach us dancing in Hyde Park, maybe on a weekend. Right, and thank you very much again, everyone, and have a good rest of the day. And thank you again, Jen, Winnie, and Scarlett. Goodbye for now. Thank you.